There is such a great need for men to not only live out the true calling as fathers, but there's a greater calling for us as men to bring our boys along, that they may have great models and teaching and instruction, and they themselves live out the call of their manhood.
Conservative Christians are being taken to task over studies that indicate their divorce rate is close to 43%.
In the entire recorded history of the planet, there has never been a greater voluntary abandonment of men from their children than there is today.
I'm Brian Molitor. I got tired of hearing people complain about the condition of our families around the world and decided to do something about it. This is Man Camp.
If you look at a lot of the ads on TV, men are these bumbling, stumbling, weak-willed, can't make up their minds, can't do anything. That's nonsense. I want guys to understand that we don't have to act that way. Sometimes we just need a reminder that you're made by God to get out there and experience things, to be risk takers, to bring about change in your personal life, your family life, your church, your community, your state, or your nation. And so what I want to do is just simply inspire guys that they can get out there and make a difference. We're bringing together 24 men. We're going to get away from the craziness of the city. We're going to dive into some outdoor activities. We're going to teach the young guys what it means to be a man. And we're going to shake off the shackles of the weak gospel that we've been presented. We've got a couple of business leaders from Michigan. Scott Baker, he's the CEO of a company there in Grand Rapids, and he's bringing his 11-year-old son, Colt. One of my favorite human beings on the face of the earth is coming. His name is Bishop Philip Porter. He's celebrating 50 years in ministry this year. One of my beloved sons is coming. He's short and black and I'm tall and white, but Brian Pruitt is his name. All-American football player that grew up without a dad, and God has just revolutionized his life. He's bringing a young man, Charles Allen, that was actually on the American Idol program. I've got a young guy, Jody Bass, is coming. Real neat young man. I knew him when he was just a kid, and Jody is an MMA fighter and a trainer. So he's a tough guy, but he's got a heart of gold.
We make it to camp, we check it out. It's outstanding, it's just what we needed. All we need are the men to get here, and you can hear that crunchy gravel from about 3 miles away.
I am Jody Bass.
Jody,
Nice to meet you.
How are you? I'm good.
I have 3 kids, 2 boys. Owen is my oldest at 10, Brennan, who's 8, almost 9 here in September, and then my little girl is 6.
That's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, they're rowdy. We let them be kids
That's good.
most of the time.
That's good.
And I allow my wife to clean up at, I'm just kidding. No. Blinding. Life is blinding. And if you stare right at it, the glare will kill you. I mean, there's no way around it. And no, I came here expecting God to move and to change me and do something in my life. And I'm leaving here a changed man. You know, I'm not pulling any punches. You guys have seen the real me since you've been here. I mean, you probably take one look and figure out I don't do a lot of planning. I go a little bit, I go by the seat of my pants, man.
Planning is not a strange act for us as men. We've been planning all our lives. To get from wherever you came from to Montana, it took a plan, didn't it? Most of you guys are properly dressed this morning. Nobody came in with their socks on their ears, right, and their shoes on their hands, so you knew how to get dressed. That took a plan. Now, that's something we've been working on for a long, long time. We plan as businessmen. We plan as fathers. We plan for a lot of different things. But here's the thing that I want to challenge you with. There's another generation coming behind us. They need fathers and father figures desperately. They are dying without them. And my question is, why don't we plan more for the success of the next generation? Why don't we plan more for the success of our own children and grandchildren? Proverbs 16:9, it says, "In his heart a man plans his course or his ways, but the Lord directs his steps." Now that makes me very comfortable, that even when I plan and I get it wrong, the Lord is still there to direct our steps. And so for about 30 years, I've been asking guys in the corporate world to tell me about the high point of your life. What do you think? Give me a couple thoughts from you guys. Somebody over here, what do you think some of the things I hear are? The high point of your life. What do you think somebody says?
Kids, having children.
Say it again?
Having children.
Having children. That's exactly right. It's the most common thing I hear. Oh man, it's when I have my kids. And you'll see these old, these guys, they get a little misty-eyed, and it's like, oh man, yeah, when my kid was born, it was so awesome. I was so proud, I was so excited. And then I have to ask them the follow-up question. Do you still act today as if that was the high point of your life? What do you think happens in the room, guys? It gets a little quiet. We've got to think about this, because that first answer wasn't wrong.
And when Mr. Molitor talked about power of a plan, I started drumming up a plan of how I'm going to do this when I get home. How I'm going to be, in lack of a better word, Superman when I get home, because I got to save my nephews from the hell that they're going through at this point. And that's one of the things that the power of plan made me know, because for the last couple weeks I've been planning to fail because I hadn't made a plan yet. So my name is Charles Allen Dallas Roach III. My stage name is Charles Allen. What the world will know me as is Charles Allen. Dude, try not to get as much toes. My toes are ugly. Good. You're lying. My mentor, Brian Pruitt, he called me and he said, "Charles, are you available to go to Montana next week?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess. Can I have some more information on it?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll send you the information after I book the plane ticket. Send your name and your information and your social security number." I said, "Okay. Guess what? We're hiking. We're camping. We're in the woods." And I asked him, I said, "Why wouldn't you tell me that there was going to be a lot of stuff that I don't do before I went?" He said, "Because I knew you wouldn't come."
My name is Brian Pruitt. I am the father of 4 awesome kids. Me and my wife, we've been married for 19 years. We've been together for 23 years. She is my high school sweetheart. And I have a 10-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a set of 1-year-old twins. I have a heart and a ministry towards men and fatherless young men. And coming here and having an opportunity to reach more men and also to bond with a group of men. So it's iron sharpening iron.
Now, if you don't have a plan for the next generation in your life, whether they're your foster kids or like some of us have in here where God has just given us somebody to mentor, then you're going to raise that next generation by default and not by design. You're going to raise them by chance and not strategy. You're going to be unintentional. That's the last thing that we want to do.
Boom, that was just like an explosion. It just, made you realize that, man, if you're not intentional about this, anything can happen. And why leave the most valuable thing to me up for chance? My kids and my wife are the most valuable things in my life. Why leave it to chance as to whether or not they grow up to be men and women of God or productive citizens? The past couple of days I've actually been writing some things out. What are the core value things, the non-negotiables that I want to teach them? For sure. Our faith in Jesus Christ, this is non-negotiable. This is who we are. We've always taught that, but just writing down the non-negotiables, and then the negotiables for us would be, since there's 4 of them, looking at each one of them as individuals and saying, because they're different people, they have a different plan, you know? And so just finding their different talents and abilities to help them out. So that really sounded an alarm for me.
Yeah. So I want you guys all to think about, whether it's a grandson, a granddaughter, whatever, what is your vision for that young person? You've got to have a vision. Scripture says without a vision, people perish or they cast off restraint. Well, that's a problem with young people today. There's just not much restraint. Well, we can help them to crystallize their vision. Now let me say this, guys, because you guys all have ministry hearts. The vision and the plan starts at home. I've had guys come up and tell me, oh, Brian, man, I got this vision for faraway lands. I go, well, that's wonderful. What are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to change lives and transform lives. Hey, that's really cool. What are you doing at home? Oh, I don't have time for that. I'm sorry, sir, but you're backwards. You start at home. Then you step out to your extended family, okay? I've got a young nephew that was raised without a father. I'm his father figure. It is not convenient. It is not easy, but there is no one else there. And I know for all you guys, there's going to be somebody in your life that you can reach out to beyond your own home. Then we get to go. Then we get to go. Then we look around extended. Look at your neighborhood. I'll bet you guys in your churches, if you got some obnoxious little kid that just kind of runs through and everybody's upset because, man, that kid's so wild and crazy. Guess what? That kid has no dad. And what that child needs is somebody like you to put a hand on his shoulder and give him a kind word every time you see him. So let's stop being upset by the next generation that doesn't know how to act, and let's teach them.
My name is Brent Rose. I'm from a very rural town in Oklahoma, Tallahena, Oklahoma, southeast part of Oklahoma. I am a pastor. I'm a pastor of War Cry Ministries in that same town. And I've been there we've been ministering, my wife and I, Beth, we've been there for about 4 years now. I actually don't know what to expect here at Man Camp. Just getting here, you know, I was invited last week, so I have my expectations. I have no idea. I'm just excited to be here, though.
One last thing I want to share before we tear off into the wilds of Montana here for some adventure. The vision for the next generation has to be based on a godly vision. And what are you talking about? Let's try this, all right? You guys over here, you're going to do my first one here, all right? I want you to complete this sentence for me. Big boys don't cry. All right, that was pretty weak. Big boys don't cry. Thank you. All right, everybody got that? So big boys don't cry. Okay, I got that. Over here, help me out. These are the Bible scholars over here. Sorry, guys. These looked a little more spiritual over here, okay? You hear what I'm saying? Okay, shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept. Okay, but wait, hit me again. Big boys don't cry.
Jesus wept. Big boys don't cry. Jesus wept.
Wait a minute. What's wrong with this picture? Somebody's got it wrong. Somebody's got it wrong. And as men, we have been taught, well, big boys don't cry. And yet often we'll wear the little wristband that says, you know, WWJD. What would Jesus do? Well, there was an appropriate time that Jesus wept. Now, he didn't weep because he skinned his knee or mom didn't give him what he wanted. That's childishness. Okay? We're here to obliterate childishness in our young generation. I don't want that. He wept with compassion. One of the most manly things we can do is to shed a tear at the appropriate time. When your heart is touched. I've got 3 sons to go along with my beautiful daughter, and when we're together for a period of time, we live across the country from one another. When we leave one another, there'll be a tear in our eye. That's very appropriate. So I want you to think about the vision that you have, even for creating the next generation. Man is made in whose image? God's image. Everybody got that? Why then do we try so hard to make our sons and daughters in our image? Why do we do that? Let them be who God created them to be. My oldest son is a phenomenal basketball player. 6'6". He was on a national championship basketball team. Christopher, outstanding basketball player. And from the time he was little on, man, he wanted to bounce the ball, shoot. You know, I'm his coach. Number 2 son, tremendous athlete, wasn't that crazy about basketball. I played college ball along with semi-pro football. So I was really excited to work with my first son on basketball. Number 2 son comes along, not that crazy about it. So what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'll tell you what I did. I went to the Lord in prayer. I said, give me a vision for Stephen. And what I heard was music. Music. It had to be God. I bought him a drum set, man. And brought it into my house. And all of a sudden, this little guy, he's banging away, and pretty soon, man, and it released a gift of music in him. And now he can stand at a keyboard talking to you, doing this, and he can create a melody that will make you weep. And I go, dude, well, what do you call that? He goes, what do I call what? He says, I'm just playing around, Dad. It's in him. And so by not trying to make him in my image or another son's image, we released in Stephen the gift that God had placed within him. So guys, as we go about our day today, I want you just thinking about the next generation in your life. Your sons, your daughters, grandsons, then extended family, then those outside of your family. And what kind of a vision does God have for them? And what kind of a plan can you put in place to release that vision? I'll check with you later on tonight. We'll see how we did. This ministry is a total team effort, and you can be part of that team. Perhaps you've got a location, a ranch or a retreat center with lots of outdoor activities where we could shoot our next series. Perhaps you could be a sponsor for one episode of the entire series, or you could even be on the show. If you want to help us to produce high-quality Christian television, build strong families and great dads, please go to our website. Thank you. One of the things we want to do at every man camp is we want the guys to learn some new skills. So we've got some really exciting things planned for the week. And on day 1, we want the men to learn fly fishing. It's this ancient, beautiful art.
A lion took the brig that was stuck beneath my ribs, and he sealed that wound with a kiss. Heaven is calling you, my dear. Heaven it calls, my friend. Love gives chase, and he runs. Love gives chase till kingdom comes.
Once again, power of the plan. We got to study our techniques and our fundamentals and develop our skills, and then we have to go out and use the plan and put this into action. We have to figure out where the fish are, then we have to go about them. And a prepared fisherman, if you really want the outcome of what's our outcome, to catch fish on a fly rod, we have to have a plan. And first part of the plan is develop your skills and learn the fundamentals.
I was told that resurrection would fill up my lungs, and hope would be in my blood.
For me, the power of planning is plan your work and then work your plan. And that really is solidified even more to me that to reach a world and to mentor the young men in my city that are coming to the church, that it's going to have to be intentional. And that, if I had kids of my own, I would think I would be intentional with them. I would do things on purpose. And for me, it's like the Lord spoke to me and said, well, why not those boys too? If you're going to minister to them, why not be purposeful in it? Why not do it with intent when that means to plan it? To this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to speak in their life this week. This is what I'm going to do. And sometimes we're afraid of plans because someone like me, most of the time I'm not real scripted about stuff. I just kind of go and stuff flows. But at the same time, I'm learning in my life too that there's a place for the plan.
What a day. What a day. Everybody all right? Sunburn? Bug bit? Huh? We had a good time, man. We had a good time. But I want to wrap the day. We started off talking about what? Power of a plan. And the challenge was, as we went through all the cool stuff, learning about fly fishing and just having some fun, shooting some hoops, just kind of taking it easy here on this initial day. I wanted you thinking about that. So let me hear from a couple of you.
The planning part, like you explained it earlier about how in the business that I had, if I wasn't planned out on these trips going into the wilderness with people and stuff, and it was just a wreck. and to reflect on how much planning I did for that, but then how I neglected to plan for the most important part of my whole life, my kids, and not doing that. It's a stark reality to me that it's turned me around. It really has helped in my planning now and being intentional about doing things for my kids that I'm thinking ahead and planning for, not just a knee-jerk reaction to prom night or whatever else is happening, you know?
What I gathered was when you were talking about putting a plan together for your children, what plan did you have for them? What jumped out to me having 4 children was there were some common things amongst the plan, but then there were individual fits for each child that was part of their plan. And I picked that out thinking of my 4 children while you were thinking about that. They all have different talents and abilities. There are some core value things that I want them all to know, but then there are some special things that God has called them to do. And I want to make sure that I can pray and pick those things out and help them to grow in it. It just brought a new meaning to raise a child in the way he should go, or train a child in the way he should go, you know, and he would not depart from it. It brought a new meaning to that, this whole thought of a plan.
We spent so much time planning, and I've got a son who's going to be a new father here in just a few months. I want him to hear this because he's a business guy. He plans things out. I mean, he's organized. He's got it all together, but he needs to take that same energy and intentionality and put it into being a dad.
Excellent.
Number 1 role, dad.
So you're going to reach 2 generations down. As you pour into your son, you're actually pouring in to your grandson. Outstanding. Mr. Baker.
You know, Brian, as you know, I'm CEO of a company, and we do much planning in business. Then you also see guys who plan outings, right? And how much time they put into an outing. And then we ask them how much time do they put in planning their kids' lives. And you talked about Proverbs this morning, where there is no vision or where there is no plan, people perish. And I think of my children, and perish is really not dying, it's not living the life in the fullness of Jesus Christ. And what is my role as a dad? To put that planning in process, so as my children walk through life and I walk with them, just thinking of what a life looks like without Christ in there. And that's where I put that word perished in there. And it's such a big part of our responsibility.
It goes fast. The word says that our life's a vapor, and a vapor goes pretty quickly, right? So, but there's time for everything that's important, guys. That's the key. And I think what we got to do is we offload the things that are not of real value in life. And then we find there's plenty of room. When we clean out that heart box, right, that treasure box of your heart, there's plenty of time for sons and daughters, grandsons and granddaughters, and the fatherless ones that God will bring to us, right? It's pretty awesome. Listen, one of the things that we're going to focus on at Man Camp here in Montana is some foundations of a plan that you guys can apply like now, okay? And for me, there's 3 foundations. The first is called lifelong mentoring, and we'll be talking about that a lot as we go on. The second is intentional blessing with our affirming words, appropriate touch and prayer. And then the third is a rite of passage. And rite of passage is not just for folks in some faraway land, all right? I believe God is bringing that back so that we actually can help our sons and our daughters transition into adulthood. So I just want to show you real quick. I'm going to pick some volunteers over here. Let me show you what that looks like from early on, all right? And just we'll kind of work this thing out. Come here, young man. What's your name?
Colton.
Colton, all right. Here's how this would be. Colton is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased, right? And we're walking together. That's a timeline. We're just walking through life together. Colton, you're a good man. You're handsome. I love the way you play hoops, man. You got some awesome moves. Now I want you to be careful up here. There's some sharp rocks and there might be some rattlers out here, okay? You got it? So we're gonna walk together for a while, but be careful. And Lord, I ask that you watch over Colton, keep him safe. God, I just release him into the fullness of his calling. And I release Colton right here. Now, he went from a boy to a man. And when they're a man, you can't hold on to them anymore. You've got to release them, all right? We get to steward a young life for about 18 years, and then they build on that foundation for half a century. They're not ours. We're just stewards. So I've released him into his future, and he's going to carry on. Well, what am I supposed to do now? How about golfing? How about fishing? Maybe for a few minutes. And then get back about the Father's business. And I go, hey, here's my next son. Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. What's your name, son?
Graham.
Okay, Dad's forgetful here. We'll be okay. This is Graham. And Graham, you're a good man. I appreciate your smile. I appreciate the way that you've cared for some of the elders that I've seen you around. That's impressive. Now, one of the things I want you to be careful of is there's a river down here. There's some danger out here, maybe some rattlers, but I know you've got what it takes. So Father, bless Graham as he moves on into the fullness of his calling. So here's this teenager, maybe early 20s. I release him, all right? Man, I still got vitality. I still got life. I'm going to get me another one. Who is this young man?
Isaac.
Isaac. Isaac is not of my loins. He is not a natural son, but he needs a dad. I got time. I can go golf, I can hit a little white ball, I can go catch a fish, or I can spend time with this young man. And if I go play golf or I go fishing, he's going to. He's going to, because I'm going to teach him the things of life. Son, I have appreciated so much how you've been joyful, you've been helpful, you've actually volunteered around here to help out. That's impressive. You're a handsome guy. God's got a great plan for you. So we've done this warning thing, and I release him into the fullness of his calling. Now these guys have moved on into life, and they're taking ground, man. They're doing awesome stuff for the Lord. They're having their own families. They're moving on. They're growing, starting businesses, ministries, and so on. And I come back, and I'm looking for that next one, and I just go, you know what? I'm old. I don't have it anymore. I can't do another one. And I got to write a passage myself. Our life's a vapor. We're just here a short time. And I kind of hate it because I got to go by myself. But I poured into the next generation. I poured into them. And the scripture says that their hearts are going to turn back to me. And look what happens. They helped me make it across. They helped me make it across. Yeah, guys. Good job. All right, go back and take your seats. Excellent. That's how it's supposed to work. There's no generation gap unless we allow there to be one. And I'm telling you right now, there's over 24 million fatherless just boys in America alone, let alone the rest of the world. And we're going to do something about it. We're going to be the ones that say, we'll go get them. We're going to start where? Our own home, extended family, and then we're going to go looking. And we're going to go find the ones that need us. We implement the power of a plan and focus it on the next generation, we change the world.
Feels like rivers have flooded from my eyes as I'm changed into a better man. I look up to the stars and know it's time to head back